So I have a story right out of the horror tales of business, perhaps. What can happen if you're not careful or if you don't take the material seriously? When I taught at Penn State, a student raised her hand in class and said, "Mr. Russell, you have this wrong. Indeed, FOB Tacoma is the location of the person who has the liability. In other words, if it's FOB Tacoma, that means that whoever is in Tacoma has the risk of loss. And if it's FOB Vancouver, it's whoever is in Vancouver that has the risk of loss." And I said, "Well, no, that's not quite right," and re explained the correct approach. Like many, she knew she was right, and I don't mind being told I'm wrong. I'm told I'm wrong quite a bit, as long as the clients pay me. I'm fine with that. However, I said, "Well, why don't you look this up, talk to some others, find out why it is that you think you're right?" A few weeks later, she came back into class and wanted to discuss the matter outside. So we discussed it, and she said, "I have to tell you that indeed you're right, and the book is right, and I'm wrong." I said, "Well, that's not a problem, but how did you get this information wrong? How did you learn this incorrectly?" Well, she said, "Guess what? I work as a shipping manager. I do this all the time. And not only do I work as a shipping manager, but I work for a very large company. The company is well known. It's GE Sylvania. Now, GE Sylvania makes a particular or a certain type of light bulb. They make the most light bulbs of this certain type in the US. And they made millions of light bulbs that they shipped all over the nation in their trucks, delivering to their buyers. But they were using the wrong approach in their shipment contracts, according to my student. In other words, their contract said shipment or destination, but their interpretation, her interpretation, was incorrect. I said, "So you've been shipping light bulbs, glass bulbs that are very fragile, on the backs of these trucks over horrible roads for the time that you've been a manager of the shipping department, and for that time your company has been getting this thing wrong? In other words, misunderstanding the entire time?" She said, "Yes, we thought it was the person who was listed and not what you were saying." I said, "Well, okay, then now you know, as long as you correct that problem." She went on and says, "Well, we spoke to not only a few of the other shipping managers at other plants, but we even went to our headquarters and spoke to them. And we found that the majority of the shipping was done incorrectly." I said, "So you mean over the entire United States this error was repeated over and over, not just locally?" She says, "Yes, there were many of us that had this thing backwards." I said, "So my question to you is, how long has this been going on?" Her answer was, "Well, I've been working there 10 years as a shipping manager, and I was taught this approach, that is the wrong approach, by my boss." I said, "Well, how long was he working there?" And she said, "He was working there 15 years. So we don't really know how long indeed, but it was at least for her time of employment, plus some of her boss's time, that they had this matter backwards. So I asked a fourth follow-up question, which was, "Well, are things being done to rectify this problem?" She said, "Yes, we're all going back as shipping managers across the United States, agreeing to our contracts wording, how our contract should be worded, and we're correcting it now so that we're buying insurance if it's needed." "So you're rewriting your contracts," I said. "Has there been any breakage or loss that you had to pay for? I mean, how did this thing work? As it looks like you were supposed to pay for the loss given the way that you wrongly interpreted your contracts." And she says, "Well, we're such a large company that indeed if glass broke and we thought it was the buyer's obligation, the buyer's risk of loss, we often just pick that up. We just wanted to keep our buyers happy, so it really didn't matter. But we're looking at this now because we really want this to be, legally sound." Okay, the point of telling you this story is simple. If you don't draw this out, if you don't have these concepts clear in your mind, you're likely to make the same mistakes. I mean, if a large company such as Sylvania can make this mistake, what are the chances that us as students can make the mistake on a test question? By the way, this is a true story. I didn't send them a bill. I wished I should have, but I didn't. It was part of the class, and it kind of got off into a customized legal advice, but she did provide me a very good story.